They were not built to be beautiful. Beauty was a consequence. They were built to contain power, justify empires, outlast the men who ordered them. Some took 600 years to finish. Some are still not finished. Some have been a cathedral, a mosque, and a museum, in that order. These 20 buildings did not witness history. They made it. Milan decided to declare ambition in stone before it could afford to. Republics and kingdoms rose and fell while the spires kept climbing. When a man wanted to crown himself ruler of half of Europe, he didn't choose Paris or Vienna. He chose the building that had been unfinished for 4 centuries, as if ambition recognized ambition. Most builders look at a mountain and see an obstacle. The monks who built Gegard looked at a mountain and saw a cathedral that God had already started. They didn't raise walls. They removed stone until the sanctuary appeared. The spring that flows through the living rock was not installed. It was found. That distinction mattered to the men who prayed beside it for 800 years. The king who commissioned Montreal was ruling an island his people had conquered and didn't fully understand. He could have built a fortress. He built something that proved his subjects were more sophisticated than his own culture. That took a particular kind of confidence, or desperation. What emerged from the collaboration was greater than any of the 3 traditions could have produced alone. The building survived 2 men who might have destroyed it. Ivan understood that beauty can be a form of terror, a demonstration that power is absolute, even over aesthetics. Stalin's hesitation had a different source. In both cases, the cathedral outlasted the man. What endures is not the tyrant. It is what the tyrant, in a rare moment of something other than cruelty, chose to build. The 7-lock system is not just security, it is a political statement that no single hand may reach for check legitimacy alone. 7 key holders required, 7 signatures before the vault opens. The war that erupted just outside its walls began as a theological argument about who held authority in a kingdom. The cathedral had been asking the same question for 5.5 centuries. The German commanders who ordered the bombardment of Reims were not ignorant of what they were targeting. They understood the symbolism. They chose military necessity over cultural preservation. They were wrong. An army can occupy a building. It cannot occupy what the building means. The photographs of those burning towers circled the globe and recruited more effectively than any poster the Allies ever designed. Churchill gave the order, protect it at all costs. Not from sentiment, from strategy. He understood that what the British people needed on the worst nights of 1940 was not proof that they were winning. It was proof that something was still standing. A dome emerging from smoke is worth 100 speeches. The photographers who captured it knew exactly what they were doing. What Henry II understood too late was that a man killed at an altar doesn't die. He multiplies. The murderers knelt in front of the body and apologized, and it still wasn't enough. 300 years of pilgrims came after. Then Henry VIII tried to erase what Henry II had created. He was no more successful. The bones are gone. The martyr is not. Gaudí spent his last years living in the crypt of his unfinished cathedral. He had donated his fees. He dressed like a laborer. When the tram struck him, bystanders assumed he was a beggar, that the most ambitious religious building of the modern era was designed by a man who chose poverty. While building for eternity says something about what he believed architecture was actually for. King Lalibela's logic was theological and precise. If the faithful cannot reach the holy city must come to them. He reversed the act of building, excavating downward, letting the earth hold what faith required. The result is not a monument to compromise. It is a monument to the idea that geography is not an excuse, and that devotion has no interest in the practical. The flying buttress was not invented for beauty. It was invented to solve a structural problem: how to raise walls high enough for windows wide enough to flood the nave with light. The medieval argument was that divine light and actual light were the same thing. The engineers made that theology visible in stone and glass. What looks like decoration is really a philosophical proof. The Allied commanders who spared the cathedral towers made that decision at altitude, under enemy fire, in a war that had already destroyed most of what Europe called civilization. They spared them anyway. There is something in that worth pausing over. The idea that even in total war, some things fell outside the calculation of military necessity. They used the spires to navigate. Then they left them standing. Venice was always honest about what it was: a trading republic, not a kingdom. It didn't inherit culture. It acquired it, purchased it, and when the opportunity arose, took it. The basilica is the record of that appetite, accumulated over centuries. And it is sinking, as it has been sinking for centuries, into the lagoon that made Venice possible in the first place. It seems appropriate. On the night of April 15th, 2019, more people watched a medieval building burn than had watched any moon landing. They watched on phones, in squares, in silence, and wept. That response tells you more about what Notre Dame is than any architectural survey. A building can outlast the faith that raised it. It cannot outlast the need people have for something that was built to last. The Soviet government spent 70 years trying to persuade Armenia that God was a political fiction. Echmiadzin was still there when they stopped. Every empire that has attempted to extinguish what this building represents has eventually been extinguished itself. That is either a theological argument or a historical pattern. Possibly both. The cathedral has stopped counting which it is. The entrance was narrowed so that no conqueror could ride in on horseback. Every emperor, every crusader, every occupier since the 12th century has had to dismount and bow. That was the intention. It has held. The church is siege-proof, empire-proof, and 2,000-year-old argument-proof. It is still where it was. Whatever has been fought over here has never managed to move it. What the dome represents is not engineering. It is the moment a city decided that the limits of existing knowledge were not acceptable. For 140 years, the professionals agreed it couldn't be done. The man who solved it was a goldsmith who had studied ancient ruins and concluded the experts were wrong. He kept his method secret until it was too late to stop him. The key to Christianity's holiest site has been held by a Muslim family for 800 years. The arrangement was Saladin's, made because the Christian denominations could not be trusted to take turns. That arrangement has outlasted the Crusades, the Ottoman Empire, the British Mandate, and the State of Israel. It is the most durable piece of interfaith cooperation in recorded history. It was created because the alternative was a fistfight in a church. The Reformation was funded by a building. Julius II needed money for the most ambitious construction in Renaissance history. He sold forgiveness to raise it. A German monk wrote 95 objections to that transaction, nailed them to a door, and broke the Western Church in half. The basilica was eventually finished. The church never was. No one planned it that way. No one planned anything. Hagia Sophia, Istanbul. Justinian said he had surpassed Solomon. He meant it. The dome was an engineering impossibility, completed in under 6 years, and still standing 15 centuries later. 3 religions, 4 political orders, and an uncountable number of arguments have passed beneath it. None of them moved the dome. The dome is indifferent to what happens below. That indifference, the refusal to take sides in 1,500 years of human argument, is its own form of power.